What you're looking at here is the average amount of money that a person makes, and they're going to have to pay $20,000 in taxes. In today's video, as I help you understand how tax filings work and how they could work towards your benefit, I'm going to cut this in half so that there's an extra $10,000 that you get to keep instead of giving it to the government. So it's no secret that I love teaching people how to make money. I love doubling my income literally every single year, and I want to help you do the same. And if you're a subscriber on my channel, every day that I'm dropping a video is dropping nuggets to help you do just that. And here's kind of the sad news. The more money you make, the more you get penalized with taxes, right? Like, for example, the person here that says, hey, Kris, I'm making $300,000. I'm like, well, guess what? You're going to have to kiss a third of that goodbye. Imagine losing $100,000 to taxes. And what it does is it breeds and foments this energy that taxes are bad. And I want to be really clear. I love paying all the taxes that I should, but not after I've done everything that I intelligently can to minimize them. And that's really what today's video is about. Today, what I want to do is I want to talk to you about how to understand tax returns. And in the next few minutes, what I want to show you how to do after you understand them are the things that you can do differently so that instead of giving $100,000 away, you can actually keep it. As we jump into this, let's start with this one. Don't mess with the IRS. People that fall under the code of tax evasion, 2/3 of them get prosecuted and they go to jail for an average of 3 to 5 years. I don't mess with the government when it comes to actually laying up my taxes. If you're ever in doubt regarding your tax strategy, consult an expert. Filing your taxes incorrectly can result in large fines, accounts frozen, and felony charges. On the flip side, filing with an accountant avoids liability, decreases your workload, and personalizes your deductions. This comes straight from Investopedia. And I'll be honest, I'm making today's video because I got a buddy of mine who has been trapped in the United States. He loves world travel. He actually won't have the government update his passport because he's behind on his taxes. So I thought, you know what? Today, with these few minutes, I'm going to show you everything you need to know about taxes, and then also legally and responsibly, how do you actually give less to the government? All right, let's actually kick off with what is a tax return, right? A tax return is a form or forms filed with a tax authority that represents reported income, expenses, and other pertinent tax information. Tax returns allow taxpayers to collect their tax liability, schedule tax payments, or request refunds for the overpayment of taxes. In other words, for example, if you have a job, you work for someone else, and you're paid, for example, through W-2, then the government with each paycheck is going to estimate what you're likely going to owe in taxes, and they're going to be generous with themselves. They're going to make sure that they pull enough out so that at the end of the year, they probably owe you some money and not the other way around. So here's a very basic tax return equation. You've got your withheld income taxes, you're going to subtract your actual taxes paid, and that's going to determine what your tax return is. Therefore, the lower you can make your actual taxable income through deductions, the higher your tax return. So if this was me and I made $100,000 this year, and I'm going to owe a percentage of this to the government, if I can find a way to get the proper legitimate deductions maximized, this is going to go down and I'm going to keep more of the money that I'm making. I love that because guess what I do with that more money? I don't increase my lifestyle. I throw it at more investments because the goal is to get more of my money working for me. That's what this whole video is about. So let's talk about tax rates. Understand that if you make somewhere between nothing and $10,275, the government's going to tax you at 10%. But on the money that you earn between $10,200 and $41,000, on that amount, they're going to charge you 12%. Next, on the money you earn between $41,000 and $89,000, they're going to charge you 22%. And you can look at this and it goes on and on and on. Here's where this is important. Did you know in 2020 that the average individual made $42,000 a year? Technically, that bumps them into a 22% tax bracket instead of 12%. But did you know that after deductions, the actual person showed on paper only having earned $24,000? That took them from 22 to 12. In other words, their collective average marginal tax rate went down substantially. So what I want to do in this video is I want to give you a game plan. I want to show you the steps that you need to take to actually lower your income. And guess what? It's not cheating. It's not robbing from the government. It's actually the government saying, hey, there are certain behaviors that if you do, we'll totally have you pay less in taxes because they're helping us in a different way achieve certain goals. So let's talk about some of the basic typical deductions. For example, your standard deductions, if you're just filing as a single person, is $12,950. But if you're filing jointly, married for example, all of a sudden you get $25,900 of deductions. Also, charitable donations, if you give to a church or if you give to other charitable foundations, some of those things can also come off of your income. If you put money in an IRA, or there's your mortgage interest or student loan interest, or if you have a health savings account, these are things that you can do that will actually lower your income. Now, the reason why the government has these is because they understand a couple of things. If you're filing jointly, you actually have a stronger financial economy at a personal level. Or charitable donations, basically the government is saying, hey, we think that if we become a better society, good people do these things, we want to reward them for them. Or if you're setting money aside for your retirement, working on paying off your house, or even being incentivized to have a house in the first place, or if you're setting money aside for retirement or when you're older for money that you might need for health conditions, the government's basically saying, hey, those are good things that we want to promote to be recognized as a strong country, so we're going to give you a tax deduction for doing those things. Now it's time to layer it on and get to a more advanced level. Let's talk about tax credits. Very different than deductions. Tax credits directly reduce your tax bill or increase your tax refund depending on how much you owe. Here's a couple of examples. Every child you have, automatically your income goes down $2,000. So I got 4 kids and the government says, well, Kris, $2,000 at 4 kids with that number of dependents, that's $8,000 less that we're showing that you have to pay any taxes on. Also, Biden released his first-time home buyer credit, which is $15,000. I want you to think about that for a second, that let's say someone was making $65,000 a year. That credit initially says, no, you didn't. You made $15,000 less. It's pretty massive. Or electrical vehicles, depending on whether you have a hybrid or a plug-in or a fuel cell, can range from $1,500 to $5,000 deduction. What's cool about this tax credit is that it literally takes your income and just says your income automatically went down by making those choices, but it didn't really go down. It lowers your marginal tax bracket, which ultimately means you're going to have to pay less in taxes and potentially at a smaller percentage. And the other thing you can do to really have a huge impact on what you pay in taxes is altering your filing status. Your tax bracket may change drastically based on how you file your taxes. For example, if the average income is $67,500, filing single puts you at a 22% federal tax bracket, but filing married drops you to 12%, and there's even head of household benefits that are going to vary. And so you look at that alone, it's like, whoa, actually, getting married and changing my filing status, turns out that saved me quite a bit of money in taxes. But now let's talk about the most dramatic thing that you can do, because every year I'm now saving millions of dollars in taxes that I'd otherwise have to pay to the government. And there's no tax evasion. I'm literally making financial choices that the government is incentivizing me to do that massively lowers my tax situation. And it comes down to this. It's deductions for people that own companies. It's for the self-employed. Business owners and operators can be much more creative with tax deductions than W-2 employees. How creative? Well, did you know that the average business owner has up to 250 different tax deductions and tax credits that they can take advantage of just because they're actually in business for themselves? Here's some of the basic ones. Office expenses, or like even my home, using a part of it for running my business, my cell phone, my driving, my miles, my business-related travel, food, insurance premiums on a health policy, general liability. According to Forbes, this all is altered and this all changes when you become a business owner, which is why when you watch my channel, if you work for someone else, awesome. But make sure on the side you're doing something to be self-employed, because you have a chance to alter your tax situation dramatically. The very first business that I started was actually owning real estate, investing in properties. And every property I bought came with huge deductions because I actually got to write off and depreciate that property and all of its interest. And what happened over time is my income kept growing. It was doubling year over year over year. But at the end of the year, I still didn't owe any taxes. And it's because the properties basically provided enough of a benefit to the government in how they view how that stimulates the economy and providing housing for families, that they said, well, we take all those deductions into account and looks like you just don't owe anything in taxes. In fact, I ended up making over $500,000 plus a year many years ago before I actually had to start paying something in taxes. So real estate is a smart thing that you can do, but so is owning a franchise or owning a different kind of business. Either way, express that entrepreneurial gene, release that, and it has really huge benefits, not just in the money you can make, but also in the money that you get to keep instead of paying it to taxes. If you feel that you're struggling on the tax efficiency front, maybe you're paying too much in taxes, or that there could be a smarter approach, then you definitely need to operate some type of business. You need to buy a business, acquire a business, and guess what? It doesn't always cost money. What you really need is a fresh perspective. You need to get a game plan, like I talked about earlier. I'm offering you a game plan for free with a trained member of my team to open your eyes to different possibilities. And if you'd like to see what those possibilities look like, click the link below, get with a member of my team, and let me give you a free game plan. Let me essentially step in your shoes and say, all right, if I woke up today with your job, with your income, with your savings, with your credit situation, doesn't matter whether you think it's good or bad, I've got to figure out how to become a multimillionaire as fast as possible. And if you want to know exactly what I would do, click that link below and let me and a member of my team show you. Maybe, Kris, I want to be in a situation where I'm going to have to pay more taxes unless I need some of your advice, AKA, I just need more money. Kris, in fact, how do I get to that magic entry-level figure of making $100,000 a year? Or maybe I just want to add $100,000 plus a year to my income. If you want to know, I made a video for you and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Click right here and let me show you.